So generally, when you look at this equilibrium, you notice that in two ways, about two things. It's about the quantum of capital that's available and about the efficiency of that to everyone. Actually, if we think of the world of asset management as ultimately capital allocation, so it's about two things. It's about the quantum of capital that's available and about the efficiency of that allocation to allocate it to the best plans, projects, initiatives, etc. And if you think of there being two ways to allocate that capital via the public markets or via the private markets, there has traditionally been a bit of an overlap between them. As one grows, the other one, and the alternative space has generally been affiliated with the private markets. So generally, when you look at this equilibrium, you notice that as markets become more efficient, the role of capital allocators decreases, and so they move from public markets to private markets. And that's why you see in most developed markets, as markets have become more efficient, more of the activity in terms of capital allocation and asset management has moved from the traditional space in public markets to the private space in the alternatives. The interesting thing in Saudi is we are actually seeing growth in both of them in tandem. So we are seeing growth in the public markets, and I would argue it has been one of the most unparalleled growth rates in the public markets, just simply because the rate of financialization of our economy has been possibly one of the most rapid in the world. But at the same time, when you look at the universe of AUM, or assets under management in our industry, one of our fastest growing segments is the alternative space, whether you look at venture capital, private equity, real estate, etc. And the growth of these two segments in tandem is just a reflection of the quantum of capital and the quantum of investment that is required and that will be required for the upcoming period. And our expectation is that both are likely to grow even further.
And it's been absolutely fascinating to watch the development of the public markets here as well. The Tata wall, increasingly sophisticated, a number of new products coming to market as well. What will drive the next wave of growth, not just in the public markets, but in the private markets as well?
I imagine that the biggest wave of growth is likely to come from just the pipeline of investments and financing needs that are required. And this is what His Excellency Minister Faisal Ibrahim talked about in his introductory remarks today. If you look at the quantum of investment that's required in Saudi from now to Vision 2030, estimates reach about $3 trillion. And that requires a lot of capital. It requires public capital, and it requires private capital at the same time. I think it also requires local savings as well as international savings.
I wanted to bring Rishi into the conversation on this because Investcorp, of course, very active in the emerging markets and a very big focus on the MENA region as well. What's your investment approach to the region in 2025 and why?
So as you said, Dan, I mean, look, we are from the region. We are created by the region, by shareholders and investors from this part of the world. And of course, now we are for the region as well. Although 40 years ago,